Guys, it's Chelsea Evans from Apple Blossom Way, and I am going to show you how to apply the new Clearly Aligned Décor Stamps from Redesign with Prima on furniture. So this piece has already been painted, and we've got some cool blending going on. Right now it looks a little bit boho, and we're going to take it from boho, shabby chic, to elegant with our decor stamps. So I have two different techniques I'm going to show you by using the decor stamps. This is a chalk synthesis paint. This is a blend of Wise Owl chalk synthesis paint that I've applied to the dresser. And then the top, I want to have kind of a crackle effect. Now, it probably is hard for you guys to see, but the tops weren't perfect. These nightstands have been well loved and well used, and they have a little bit of imperfections in the top, so I couldn't restain them. So I decided to crackle them. Now, my paint is totally dry. What I'm going to do is apply another layer of paint over the top, and I'm going to press my decor stamp into the paint while it's wet and give a 3D crackle effect. So I just have some paper plates here. This is a FIFO bottle. These are great to use for paints. And the color inside is called Weather Vane, and it's from Wise Owl. And I'm just going to put a little bit onto my plate. And I'm going to use a cling on brush to apply it. Don't judge my brush, they are all well loved and well used. Okay, so I've got my paint all ready, and I'm just gonna apply it over the top. Oh wait, but first, let's get our stamp ready. So we are ready. You want to apply the stamp to the paint while it's wet. That will give you a 3D effect. So basically, where I apply my stamp, the maroon parts that I've created are gonna pop through and give us some dimension. So I'm going to use the Imperial Crackle stamp. I love this stamp because it has like a damask print on one side and then the crackle on the other side. And I did end up using both on the same project here, but you don't have to use them together. But they do look really nice together. You could layer the stamps over the top of each other too, and that would look really cool. So I just have my stamp here, the crackle part, and ready to go. All right, so now I'm gonna apply my paint, and I'm just going to apply it to the inside edge here and leave my outside edges that really pretty maroon color. So I'm just gonna carefully apply this. And I'm applying it pretty liberally. You want it to be thick enough so that your crackle actually shows, because if it's too thin, then you probably won't pick up the texture as much. And the texture is part of the reason it's so cool. This would be an awesome idea to do with a light color, like a white or a cream or something. And then if you had painted the dresser a brown or a deeper tone underneath, that would be really, really pretty. And then all of your crackle that would come through would be that deep brown. It's kind of the same idea as applying like a crackle finish paint. But you're not gonna have to do that. You can just use your decor stamp to do it. And then you can control it. Sometimes when you apply crackle paint, you can't control exactly where it crackles or how much. This is going to give you a consistent pattern over the entire top, and you decide where. You can make it even across the whole thing, or you can make it just here or there, where a crackle paint might crackle everything and then you don't have that control, or you don't have the option, I should say. Okay, so got my paint on there, it's nice and wet. And my brush marks really aren't gonna matter too much. Set that aside. Now I have a square edge that I'm gonna line right up with the edge that I've painted here. So I'm just gonna start right here on the edge. And I'm just gonna press down. and then pull it right up. And that leaves a really cool crackle design. Now, here's another thing I love about these stamps is it's gonna line right up, stamp after stamp. And I'm just gonna go all the way across the top to create the look that I want. Now, if you're working in a warm climate and your paint dries very fast, then just get a little spray bottle out and just spritz it with your spray bottle, and that way your paint will stay wet, so when you are doing your impression with the stamp, you will get a really nice deep impression from that wet paint. So I'm just gonna go all the way over the edge. And then another thing I love about these stamps is they're flexible. So I need to just get the very edge without going over. So I'm gonna hold this edge up and press down. Pretty cool, huh? All right, let's do this back part. And then we have our crackle. Now you can leave it just crackled and it looks really awesome, or you can let it completely dry and then you could add a wax or a glaze over top, wipe it back, and then you are going to get more of a 3D effect with your crackle because all of the glaze or wax is going to go into the crevices of the crackle. When it's totally dry, if you want, you can distress it. Sometimes, depending on how thick your paint is, it might be a little bit rough, and if you don't like that, wait till it's totally dry. Go ahead and fine sand it with 220 fine grit sandpaper, just by hand, and knock off any of those coarse edges, and then you will have a perfect crackle finish. All right, it's time to make over the front of this dresser. Now we're gonna take it from boho to really classy. I'm gonna use the Imperial Crackle Decor Stamp from Redesign with Prima on the front, and their copper ink, which is awesome. You guys are gonna love it. It is really beautiful. It's gonna give a lot of depth and dimension to this piece, but it's also really pretty when it catches the light because it has a little tiny bit of shimmer. So I've got the damask print here, and I'm just gonna place it on the front of the drawers. What I love about this is I can do a repeat design all the way across the drawers and it looks beautiful, but I can also just place it here or there and kind of have a distressed damask look as well. So let's add some copper to this. Copper is just, it is absolutely amazing. I love it. And it looks beautiful on furniture. But before I add the stamp, I decided to try something out with these because that's what I do. And so I found that highlighting furniture, especially on a French provincial piece like this, is really beautiful. And so I took my ink pad in my hand, just like this, and then I just went along some of the edges. And I just gave them a little bit of highlight with our ink pad. This was really fast and easy to do. I just tapped a little bit and pulled down just a tiny bit on the corners. A little bit right here in the front. You can see as I painted it, it has a warmer feel on the front and then it kind of goes darker towards the edges. So I wanted a little bit of the copper to come down and just grab those areas. And this is a really fun and easy way to do this. You can also use the other colors. Black would be really great to do this with, or white if you wanted to just grab a little bit of the highlighting, but I love the metallic on it. I think I added a little bit on the legs here, and then just a tiny bit, and I just kind of dabbed it on the leg right here, and that kind of gave us some dimension. Okay, now we've got all our highlights done, and now we're gonna stamp it. So I've got my stamp. I'm just gonna press the pad right onto the stamp. And I think I measured. So instead of stamping the entire stamp, I kind of just measured to see how far down I needed to go, right about there. That way I can hold on to this piece and I don't have ink on it, and I know about where I'm at. Just want to make sure that you fully cover your stamp in the ink so you get a nice pattern. If you want a more distressed look, then you're just going to stamp it in some places, and then in other places leave it less covered, and that will give you a distressed look without having to sand. All right, so I'm gonna take it right here, and I centered right in between my holes for my hardware and the center damask print here, and I lined it up right with the edge of the drawer. And I kind of just looked, it's nice because you can see the design, but it's also clear, so I can see through to see my hardware holes, but then I can see right where the design is gonna lay, which is really nice. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and press it right onto it. I'm just gonna hold it with one hand and kind of press it on with the other. And pull it back. And we have a beautiful damask print. Now, I wanna go all the way across. I don't want it to look like a stripe. Although this would be really cool to just have one stripe going down the center. So you kind of use it to your discretion and create what you want to see. I wanted something that went all the way across, so I'm going to show you how easy it is to line up. Now different inks are going to show differently. If you have the black ink or white, it's going to be more apparent where your design is. Because this is metallic, it's a little bit harder to see. So just kind of move up or down in the light so you can see the sheen, and then you'll know where to line it up. So I've re-stamped, re-inked, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna line it right up next to my other stamp, right at the top. And because this is French provincial, I've got some curve to work around. So I'm gonna start from this edge, and I'm gonna slowly bring it around to this side. Now this is the other cool thing about the stamps, is because they're flexible, it makes it so much easier to apply my stamp and bring it up and around the design and continue it. So I have a tiny edge here. Instead of re-inking the whole thing, I'm just going to add ink just to that side section there. And then I'll stamp it. Now, a question some of you might have is, do I have to re-stamp every time? No, you don't. So you can stamp and then stamp again. You're just going to have more of a distressed or faded look on your next stamp. It won't be as bright or sharp as the first stamp. So just keep that in mind. So it's totally up to you. If I wanted a really bold stamp, I would add a lot in the middle, and then I would re-stamp without re-inking as I went. And just work it out. They're so easy to use. And then I'm going to pull that edge out so I don't stamp all the way across. Pull it off. Now, I'm going to continue on the bottom drawer and on the base. And I'm also going to take a little bit and just go along the edges of my nightstand to give it a little bit of pop. Once you've applied your stamps, if you use the ink, you do need to top coat it. Also, if you use any chalk paste or any other type of acrylic, I recommend top coating it. This is just gonna seal it so your client, or you, if it's for you, you can clean it and it will last you, and you can take care of it. So I'm gonna use a satin varnish from Wiesel. I really love the sheen of it, and I wanted this to be kind of classy, so I chose satin. You could use a matte satin or semi-gloss, but it does need to be water-based. So any type of water-based polyacrylic or varnish is ideal to use over top of this. and that will keep it the same color and you won't have any yellowing or anything like that. So I just poured a little bit in the cup here so I can show you. And you want to make sure that your stamp is completely dry before you apply it so that it doesn't smear or react to the top coat in any way. And then I'm just going to go ahead and seal my drawer. And this will kind of just lock everything in together. It will give a really pretty sheen. I recommend letting it dry for at least 2 hours before you apply the top coat so that you don't have any type of reaction with the top coat. Sometimes when I'm working on a piece, I'll let it dry overnight before I actually seal it with the top coat, just to make sure that everything is adhered really nicely and then I get a really beautiful finish.